we're fixing to put the door sill on for the upper section that the window will actually go up into and create seal against the rain. So you've seen this before if you watched the video about how to get all this put back in place. So what I want to note here is back up in here, you probably can't see it real well, there's actually a catch back off in here. And then you've got another lip right here. That's where the rubber seal is going to go up into the top part first and then catch on this lower part. So I'll show you how to rock that in here in a second. And then over here, so it'll catch off on this edge, and there's a lip here. Now I found this here is not as easily pushed in. You may have better luck than I do, but I wind up using a bone tool to kind of wedge it back down and then push from the top of my thumb. And once again, we'll go over that here in just a moment. Now you do want to note there are some holes down here on the back section. We're actually only going to use the one. That's all they ever used from the factory. I'm not sure why they decided not to use the other one. Looks like they prepped for it, but didn't. And then on the front, we have three, here, here, and here. We're actually going to use all three of those holes for when we put this on. So as you can see here on the piece of trim, we've got 2 pins there and a pin here. And all those will be pushed in. Now these two are actually covered up by the trim itself. You can kind of feel this one. If you push hard enough, you can feel this one. This other one, if you look from the top side, you can actually see that pin, the head for it. So we want to make sure we get those lined up. It's actually where we'll be making our connection first. Okay, so we're going to put our piece of trim on. There's no glue required here. So we're simply going to line up these pins like I mentioned in each one of these holes. Like I said, we have 3 of them. Make sure you get those pins all the way in. Once you've got that in place, like I said, you're going to roll this trim up into the actual bevel trim here. I'm going to give it a good push. You'll hear it pop when it snaps into position. You may have to kind of readjust here and there to try to get the upper section back into its proper place, and then give it a good push. You saw there, I kind of pulled this up till it meets down here on this piece of trim. Just making sure we are snapped in. And once again, work our way up, doing the same thing. Once you get a little bit of it going, it should go pretty easy the rest of the way. Double checking that there. Apparently my seal has a little bit of a warpage in it, but it is snapped in. So once we get back towards this corner, we're going to take a pause from popping the trim in. We're going to get some silicone to help seal up back in this corner. Off in here, back up in this corner here, where these 2 pieces of trim meet, I'm going to get some silicone going. This will help keep this piece of trim in place. But also, we're going to put a little bit around in here to help hold this corner in place. You can see from the residue, it's actually been glued before. but we're only putting it up in this corner a little bit. Notice I'm not putting any into the track to where it snaps into, because we don't want to destroy it if we ever have to pull it apart again. So being somewhat liberal up in the corner, but more of just a coating here on the back side of both the upper and lower tracks for this seal. I've got that in place. I can finish by getting my corner tucked up in. You want this to go up into the corner. Get that nice and snapped in place. And this is going to tuck back in underneath this window into that silver aluminum track. You'll be able to take your bone tool and get it back in here to this outer edge of the seal and push it down into there. It's kind of hard to see from that angle, but if your car's like mine, you'll have this edge where the rubber has actually pushed against the trim for years. So it kind of gives you an idea when you have it in the right place. Because if it's not in the right place, it's actually going to hold it up, just like you're seeing here, and it will not set back down on this edge. So I know I still have some more work, of course. May have to do a little movement like I'm doing here, where I'm pushing it in and kind of rocking it up. That's forcing the seal back in. And at the same time, while I'm holding this back, I'm putting pressure against here. So that as I work this, it's forcing that seal down into that ridge. So just slowly work your way down. Of course, use a plastic bone tool, a metal one. You take a risk of tearing up your rubber seal. And these are not cheap. So you want to be careful not to damage them. Okay, once that seal is in place, you will be able to take this section of your seal and push it down over this ridge of the body seam. Now, a lot of times when you take these off, they will be ever so slightly expanded. My suggestion is before you put it back on, do what I'm doing here. I'm just lightly massaging it to get this tighter. So you'll have this groove, as you can see here, from the original spread, and here where I've just squeezed it. So that's all I'm doing. There's some metal inside this rubber that helps it conform around that edge on the car. So all we're doing here, like I said, just lightly massaging. We don't want to just shape it too much. You can actually wind up having some weird looking warps if you get too aggressive with that. But now it's going to be much tighter when we go to push it back on, just like this. So you're just going right over the top of that metal ridge, in between the trim, and working your way down. Be sure and give it a good push to get down that corner so that your trim lines up where the body starts to roll back out for the door jamb. Once you've done that, you should have another plastic pin. It goes right here in the side. Holds that piece back so that when the door closes, it'll smush that down and create a seal. So we've got everything back on. The last thing you want to do for this seal is take your bone tool, nice thin bone tool, catch it behind the seal, kind of run it down, make sure it's not caught back behind anything, and the same thing across the top. This will help make sure any piece of trim is actually tucked in nice and tight like it should be.